Hi everyone, it's Jeff here again, back with another Spin Zone video for you. But before I get to the records for this time, I just got to show you, you probably saw it in my last video, you see this new shelving unit here, and I got another one just like it right there. Over the weekend, I went to IKEA. And I bought, obviously, two more of these. See my fingertip going, whoop, these right here. I could not find the, and then here's a little tip for you, for any of you who are shopping at IKEA in the near future. The birch veneer, which is what this one is, has been discontinued. Because I was, of course, trying to find more of them so they would match. And I went and I'm looking all over, and all I see are they had black and white, but no birch. So I asked one of the people there if they had any of these Kallax units in the birch veneer, and then the guy said no, they've been discontinued. He didn't even mention this, which is the walnut finish, and I happened to actually found it by accident because I was going to go with white, and they had only one left in white. So I guess I thought I was gonna be stuck with black, and I happened to just be walking back among the shelves in the self-service furniture aisle, and I saw the the vertical cube units in the walnut finish, so I went with that instead. And Molly approved of it, so put them together real quick, real easy, and now I've got more storage. This cube right here, this top one that you see, is all blues records, all the blues records in my collection. So all the Buddy Guy, the Three Kings, the Butterfield Blues Band, Hound Dog Taylor, who else is in there? John Lee Hooker. All those records now live up there, so I've separated out the blues. And then this one down here is all Beatles and solo Beatles albums. So I separated all those out too. And I did a little rearranging on these other ones here, but nothing too major. So now I've got enough room for expansion. Hopefully for what I've already have, much less future purchases, I'm hoping. So we'll just have to see how it all goes. But yeah, that was one of the things I did this past weekend. The collection is slowly growing. Yeah, I had no choice. I just run out of room. So it's all good. You know, I won't be in this house forever. Someday, in my mind, I can see myself living at hopefully someplace much larger, where I can have a dedicated room for all this, and books too, and comics. I really hate having a storage unit for my comics. I wish I had room here at home for them, but there's 28 boxes of comics, and that takes up a pretty big chunk of space, let me tell you. So for now, I'm stuck with it. All right, let's get to the records. I'm almost 4 minutes in here. This Spin Zone I'm doing something a little different this time, because actually I was getting kind of bored with the way I've been making videos, just with a kind of scattershot, you know, pick whatever I felt like listening to at the time thing. And, you know, once I listened to 5 or 6 or 7 records, I would just make a video. And as a way to just kind of change things up for myself, I noticed that I had several metal albums that have been kind of languishing in my collection, my rolling record crate, which is right down here. And I said to myself, why don't you do a theme video and listen to all those metal albums and talk a little bit about them, even though I'm probably not as conversant in the genre of metal as a lot of you other guys are. But I figured I'd give it a shot. So I've got 7 albums here. They're all, well, they're all older. They're all from either the 70s or the 80s. But I think they're all pretty, all of them are pretty much well-known albums. I think everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, I guess okay. I'm babbling. Let's get to the first two, because they're both by the same artist, Rush. We got their self-titled first album here, and I got Caress of Steel here. I've never gotten into early Rush. You know, basically anything before like 2112. So I came across these albums from the Jerky Cellar that I've referred to several times over the last few videos. And this one here I was actually on the fence about, because when I got it, it didn't have an inner sleeve, but the record looked like it was in good shape. I'll just pull it out here and show it to you. You know, it's the Mercury, the old Mercury Records label with the Skyscraper label. And I mean, looking at it, it's got some scuffs on it, no scratches, but looking in the dead wax, it's got Master Disc stamped in the dead wax and GK, the initials GK next to it. So I don't know what pressing this is. I really can't tell. I'd have to look up the matrix number, but it's probably an early one, just judging by the label, because I know this was like the early to mid 70s Mercury label. It sounds good, actually. I'm not talking about the music, I'm talking about this copy. But I'm probably going to need to do the scrubbing bubbles treatment on it to try to deep clean it, because anytime there was a quiet stretch or even just the dead space between the tracks, you could really hear that popcorn sound. So this is one of those copies that if you just turn it up loud enough, you don't notice it, but especially on Caress of Steel, there is definitely some quiet passages in especially on side 2. See that right there? Where it kind of transitions between tracks, and there's just very, you know, low, quiet acoustic guitar parts. And that's where you really find the deficiencies of the copy. And this one here is also the same 70s label by Mercury Records too. So as far as the condition of the copies, they need a little work. I'm hoping Scrubbing Bubbles will take care of it. That's probably what I'm going to be doing this afternoon. I'm probably going to be cleaning these records and listening to them again to see if they improved any. But music-wise, I love these two albums. These were really good. I mean, like I said, I'm coming to them brand new as a new listener, and of course I knew the song "Working Man" from the first album, but everything else on this first album is pretty damn good. And Neil Peart wasn't part of the band for this album. The drummer was John Rutsey. But all in all, I have to say, I mean, and I'm a Rush fan anyway. I mean, I'm not a hardcore Rush fan, but I've always kind of wanted some of their stuff on vinyl, so having these two records is actually something that I'm really enjoying. So, and as far as Caress of Steel goes, Neil Peart was part of the band here. This is a gatefold with all the lyrics. You can see all the lyrics in here. The cover's split. It just needs to be glued. I can probably just put a little bit of glue down here and it'll be fine. I liked this just as much as the first one, if not even a little bit more. And like I say, side 2 was kind of like a suite, kind of like a precursor to what they would do in the future, like with albums like 2112. But even side 1, Bastille Day, The Necromancer, Lakeside Park, those were all great songs. And certainly worthy of radio play. I don't know why who knows why stuff makes it to the radio or not. I can't tell you. But actually, I do have a story once I'm done talking about these records. But anyway, glad to have these in my collection. Glad to have some Rush on vinyl finally. I'm just going to try cleaning them, and hopefully they sound better. If they don't, well, I mean, they'll be placeholders, but I probably want to go find some upgrade copies. But I'm hoping they clean up. So, yeah. Rush was a... I've always liked them, but I had some of their albums on cassette back in the day from the 80s, like Moving Pictures and Signals. And I think I have Presto on CD. That came out in the 90s. But the early stuff I'd never heard before, and it's really good. Moving on from that is the third album by Black Sabbath, Master of Reality. This was, I'd gotten the first 3 Sabbath albums from my wife. She bought these for me, and this is the reissue from 2016, I believe. Here's the back cover, and of course, I know Bree's gonna know what this album is because it's got Sweet Leaf on it. But stay away from the Sweet Leaf, kid. It's bad for you. You don't want to go there. Yeah. Legal or not, you don't want to do it. Yeah. Here's the gatefold. And it's got the replica green Warner Brothers label, 180 gram vinyl, beautiful sounding copy, and the music itself is fantastic. I have to say I liked all 3 of the Sabbath albums that I've got. Paranoid and the self-titled first album and this. All 3 are really great. All 3 I've played many times. Obviously this one not as much, but the mailman just walked by and it just threw my thoughts off. We don't do any edits, we don't do any retakes. This is one take Jeff, that's it. Okay. Yeah, what can you say about Sabbath? It's where metal began, basically. I love Ozzy, I love this whole band, and I love this record. So I know you're not going to really be getting a lot of deep thoughts from me out of these records because I know everybody knows these, and I'm late to the party on them. So related to Sabbath are 2 albums that I found. When did I find these? I found these last winter at an estate sale. Diary of a Madman and Blizzard of Oz by Ozzy Osbourne. Of course, Blizzard of Oz, of course, has the immortal hit Crazy Train on it, among others. But that's the one song that you'll have the likeliest chance of hearing on the radio. Here's the back cover. I got both of these copies for, I think I paid like $7 each. They're like brand new. They don't look like they've ever been played. They're on the Jet Records label, which I previously only thought was an ELO label because I know they released all their records on Jet. But Ozzy did too, apparently. These copies are like brand new, and they sound fantastic. And like I said, the music. As for the music, these 2 albums are both, you know, the prime of Randy Rhoads on guitar, and it shows. Boy, that guy was unbelievable on guitar. I know I'm not saying anything new or radical here by saying that, but I'd never really listened to very much solo Ozzy with Randy Rhoads, but these albums fixed all that for sure. Geez, Mr. Crowley. I'm still talking about Blizzard here. Mr. Crowley, Suicide Solution. Almost every song on this album is just fantastic. I've actually listened to this a couple times since I pulled it out of my crate. So, yeah. And as far as Diary of Madman goes, kind of an interesting cover there, Ozzy. Here's the back. And I'm trying to think what's the big hit off of this one. Flying High Again is probably the biggest probably be I've heard that on the radio before. But really, almost every song on this album sounded familiar to me, even though I've never actually sat down until now to listen to them. Yeah. What can you say about Ozzy, right? I mean, great stuff, for sure. And the last two albums. I'm not trying to piss anybody off by saying this, but I listened to Kill 'Em All by Metallica probably this time a year ago, more or less. And I have to say, it didn't thrill me. The sound on it just it sounded a little too thin, like the production was real weak. I don't know how to describe it. The songs were just okay, but by the time I got to like the middle of side 2, I was like, all right, enough of this already. Okay, I got it. They're, okay. But let me keep talking here. Don't get too mad. When I listened to Ride the Lightning, I was like, huh. I was pleasantly surprised because, once again, my wife bought me the first 3 Metallica albums. So, listen to Kill 'Em All, didn't really care for it. Listen to this, I liked it. I liked it a lot. Here's the back cover. These are the reissues that came out a couple years ago. I want to say, what was the reissue? Is it on here? It doesn't say. I want to say 2013, but it could have been sooner. But anyway, this album came out in 1984, originally. And it seems like the difference between the first album and this is like a giant leap forward. It seemed like there was actually songs on this album. There were stronger melodies, and yeah, it's still a speed thrash album, but it had some pleasant listening elements to it. It's like it wasn't all just. There's plenty of that in here too, but there was plenty of melody too, and that is what I need to help me get by, because that's one of the things that I find lacking in a lot of metal is I can't just sit there and bang my head the entire time. I can do it for a while, but over the course of a whole album, but this was a great leap forward from Kill 'Em All, in my opinion. So I really liked this album. Then Master of Puppets is another great leap forward from Ride the Lightning. This one I liked best of the 3 so far. And like I said, I know if any of these metal guys still watch my videos, I know I'm not saying anything new here, because I know this stuff is in like your DNA, the way certain music and bands are in mine. But like I said, I'm stretching my boundaries out a little bit here. I'm trying out some different things. And this is also a reissue as well. 180 gram vinyl. I'll just show you the label here. And this I liked even better than the other 2. And I know everyone is probably going to tell me in the comments I should listen to And Justice for All. And believe me, after listening to this one, I would gladly get a copy of that and listen to that, because everybody seems to love that album the best out of Metallica's albums. But for this one, there was, basically the entire, here's just the set list for the album. Here's all the tracks. Basically every single one of them is killer. And I had this cranked up actually yesterday afternoon, and I warned my daughter Molly, because she calls metal Kill Your Mother music. I said, Molly, I'm going to be playing some of that Kill Your Mother music super loud. And she's like, okay, Jeffy. And she locked herself in her room and put her earbuds in, or whatever she does in there. while the walls were throbbing with the sounds of Metallica, which was really quite good. But yeah, based on Ride the Lightning and this album, it makes me want to go forward into their catalog and continue and listen to more of their stuff. At the very least, and Justice for All. So, yeah, while I know that this is probably old hat to a lot of you metal guys, like this would be like, you know, this would be like me holding up like Led Zeppelin albums and saying how great they are. Everybody knows it, right? But I'm late to the party. Like I said, I wasn't listening to the metal when this stuff was new back in the 80s. I was listening mostly to 60s music when I was in high school. I wasn't listening to much new stuff. And now I'm listening more to 80s, 90s as I go on. But I'm catching up. So yeah, Master of Puppets, great, great, great album. And there you go. That's pretty much everything that I've got right now that I haven't listened to in my crate that's metal. So there's probably going to be a couple of other themed videos like this. In the future, I have a few ideas, just knowing what I have, what I still have to listen to, and it's going to be a little more fun to kind of group them together and hopefully come up with something to say about them. The story that I wanted to tell was I was on the radio last week. I think I mentioned in my couple videos back, there's a show on WDRV in Chicago called 10 at 10, and they picked my list to play on the radio, and it was iconic bass guitar riffs. I know my buddy Brad over at H2 Vinyl recorded it for me, and he sent me a copy. Thank you, Brad. You're the best. And but the bad part is they screwed up my list because I had Come Together by the Beatles as one of my songs, you know, because of the bass line. Well, and I did an intro for it too, because I recorded 3 intros to 3 of the songs over the phone with the producer of the show, like a week or 2 before they ran it, and one of them was for Come Together. So, and this was last Monday on the 6th when it played, when my list played. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening, and all of a sudden I hear the Aerosmith version of Come Together, and I'm like, what are they doing? Why did they change my list? That's not the right version of Come Together. So they play the Aerosmith version, and then I'm thinking, well, I know I recorded an intro for the Beatles one. Why are they? I wonder why they cut that. I wonder if what happened. And I'm trying to think to myself. And then all of a sudden I hear the intro for the Beatles version. So they played the same song back to back. They played the Aerosmith version and then the Beatles version to Come Together. And that was not the way it was supposed to go. I almost wanted to call back down there and yell at them, but who knows? Somebody must have just made a mistake. Somebody just saw it Come Together and they probably just grabbed Aerosmith. I don't know. But anyway, it was cool to hear myself on the radio. So that's all. All right, guys. I'll probably have another video up this week because I think I'm closing in on my 1-year anniversary of being in the VC. I think it's tomorrow. I'll have to check the date on my first video that I posted, but I think it's either tomorrow or the day after. So I'm probably going to do a shout out video just to thank everybody that's been commenting all along with me and watching my videos and subscribing to me and all that stuff. So look for that to come in the next day or two. And until then, hope everyone stays cool. And we'll hope everyone's still enjoying their summer. The kids start school tomorrow. I can't believe it. I'm so excited. All right, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Peace out. I'll see you.